Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something right off the bat. There is nothing, and I mean nothing, more confusing to a grown man than a woman who refuses to react the way he expects. Men walk around thinking they've got your emotions on a remote control. They hit one button, you cry. Another button, you chase. Another button, you explain yourself for things you didn't even do. And the moment they think they've figured you out, they start acting like they've got options they never earned. You ever notice how people get real comfortable when they think they've figured you out? They think they know exactly what button to press, what tone to use, what habit of yours they can lean on whenever they slip up. And the truth is, we train people how to treat us by the way we react. So when a man hurts you and you jump into explaining, pleading, or trying to fix what you did, break. All you're doing is showing him, you can hurt me, and I'll still show up for you. That reaction becomes a pattern, and that pattern becomes his permission. But the moment you stop reacting, everything changes. Silence hits different when it comes from someone who used to give you everything: access, emotion, presence, softness, care. When you stop responding immediately, when you stop giving long explanations for things he already understands, when you stop trying to make him comfortable in moments he should be uncomfortable, that silence speaks for you. It says, I felt that. I'm not ignoring it. I'm choosing me right now. Silence is not weakness. It's not you shutting down. It's not you losing the argument. Silence is the pause where you gather your dignity. It's the moment you say, I'm not fighting for clarity with someone who already knows what they did. A man doesn't get confused by yelling or crying or long messages. He gets confused by a woman who refuses to let him pull her into an emotional storm. The storm only works if you step into it. When you stay still, when you stay calm, when you stay grounded, he's left alone with the wind he created. And boundaries, real boundaries, those aren't punishment. They're not threats. They're not emotional tricks. They're the invisible lines that say, this is where your behavior stops and my self-respect begins. A boundary is you deciding how much access someone gets to your energy after they mishandle it. Maybe that's shorter conversations. Maybe that's delayed replies. Maybe that's protecting your time. Maybe that's walking away from arguments that go nowhere. Boundaries aren't walls, they're doors that only open for peace. When a man hurts you and you respond with boundaries instead of breakdowns, it forces him to see something he didn't see before. The shift in your tone, the shift in your availability, the shift in your energy, not because you're playing games, but because you're protecting yourself. People always understand the consequences of their choices when they start losing access to things they took for granted. And the beauty is, you don't have to announce your silence. You don't have to explain your boundaries. You don't have to make a speech about how you're changing. The moment you stop reacting in the old way, the new version of you becomes obvious. A version that is quieter, stronger, firmer, clearer. A version that doesn't need to fight to prove her worth. A version that lets her absence speak louder than her anger ever could. You ever look back at a situation and realize you were giving someone the kind of loyalty they never earned? That kind of realization hits you in the stomach. Because when you love someone, when you care deeply, your instinct is to give, to show up, to believe the best in them even when they're giving you the bare minimum. You hand out loyalty like it's oxygen, and you forget that not everybody deserves to breathe from what you worked so hard to build inside yourself. Matching energy isn't about becoming cold. It's not about shutting down or turning into someone unrecognizable. It's about alignment. It's about making sure you aren't the only one pouring effort. Honesty, consistency, and tenderness into the relationship. Because love is not supposed to be a one-woman performance. It's supposed to be a duet when you're the only one singing and he's just standing there humming whenever he feels like it. That's not harmony. It's emotional exhaustion. When a man gives confusion, inconsistency, mixed messages, or excuses, you don't fix it by giving him more of what he's already mishandling. You don't chase someone who stands still. You don't stabilize someone who refuses to stand steady. You match what he shows you not because you're petty, but because you are protecting the parts of you that deserve better than uncertainty. If he's hot and cold, you stop trying to warm him. If he's distant, you stop reaching so far that you lose yourself. If he only shows up when it's convenient, you stop clearing your schedule like he's the center of your world. Matching energy is really just emotional honesty. It's saying with your actions, I see you clearly now. It's refusing to be the only person carrying a connection that's supposed to be shared. It's giving him the chance to step up instead of holding everything together for the both of you. And the moment you stop overextending loyalty, something powerful happens inside you. You start to feel lighter. You start to feel less anxious. You start to see what you were sacrificing just to keep the bond intact. Your peace comes back, your self-respect rises, and you finally hear your own needs again, because overgiving silences your voice. But matching energy brings it right back. A man will always feel the shift when you stop giving him more than he gives you. Not because you said anything, but because the imbalance he relied on is gone. Suddenly, he has to put an effort to get what used to come easy. Suddenly, your attention isn't automatic. Suddenly, your loyalty isn't unconditional. And that shift forces him to either rise to the level you deserve or fall out of your life completely. You stop being the safety net. You stop being the emotional cushion. You stop being the constant in someone else's chaos. Your loyalty becomes measured, intentional, deserved. And in that space, you learn how powerful you are when you stop pouring into people who treat your love like it's replaceable. Prioritizing yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. It's waking up one day realizing you've spent so much time pouring into someone else that you haven't poured into yourself in weeks, months, sometimes years. And the wildest part is you don't even notice how empty you've gotten until something hurts you so deeply that you finally stop long enough to feel the weight of it. That's when it hits you. You can't keep giving from a place that's running on fumes. You can't keep sacrificing your peace just to keep someone else comfortable. There comes a moment when your heart whispers, "What about me?" And for once, you actually hear it. When a man hurts you, prioritizing yourself becomes clarity. It becomes that shift where you stop waiting on him to apologize the right way, to show up the right way, to love you the way you've been loving him. Instead, you start showing up for yourself. You start giving yourself the energy, time, and care you've been giving away like it was endless. You start making decisions that protect your mental space, your emotional balance, your dreams, your future. You start choosing what doesn't drain you, what doesn't confuse you, what doesn't break you down to rebuild you later. Prioritizing yourself looks like going to sleep without waiting on a text that should have been sent hours ago. It looks like choosing peace over arguments that go nowhere. It looks like enjoying your own company instead of chasing someone who doesn't know how to value it. It looks like rediscovering hobbies, passions, routines, and joy you put aside because you were too busy putting all your effort into someone who didn't match it. It's powerful because when you shift the attention back to yourself, you start to glow differently, you breathe deeper, you walk lighter. Your mind gets clearer. And that glow isn't about making him jealous or proving anything to anybody. It's about finally giving yourself the love you were begging someone else to give you. You realize you deserve a life where you're not constantly questioning your worth. A life where you're not overthinking every message, every change in tone, every shift in his mood. A life where your emotional stability isn't tied to how someone else decides to treat you that day. You realize how much peace you gain when you stop centering someone who never centered you. And here's the emotional truth that stings at first, but frees you later. Sometimes the hurt is what pushes you back to yourself. Sometimes pain is the alarm clock that wakes you up from the sleep you've been living in carrying. Someone else's weight, ignoring your own needs, hoping love will fix what effort never did. When you choose yourself, you stop negotiating your value. You stop giving discounts on your heart. You stop lowering your standards just to keep somebody around. And the moment you start filling your own cup again, you become a version of yourself that you almost forgot existed, strong, centered, confident, whole. Withdrawing emotional investment from inconsistency is one of the hardest things you'll ever do because your heart wants to stay where it once felt safe. It wants to believe the version of him that showed up in the beginning, the version that made promises, the version that made you feel seen. But inconsistency has a way of revealing truth. It shows you who someone is when the excitement fades, when the routine sets in, when effort becomes a choice instead of a performance. And the moment you realize someone is only present when it benefits them, that's when the emotional pull starts to hurt more than it heals. You don't wake up one morning magically ready to withdraw your emotions. It happens slowly. It starts with disappointment that hits deeper than it should. It starts with waiting on a call that used to come naturally. It starts with replaying conversations, trying to understand where the connection shifted and why you're the only one trying to pull it back into place. Inconsistency creates confusion, and confusion creates exhaustion. After a while, your heart gets tired of asking for the bare minimum. Tired of trying to guess whether today he'll be warm or cold. Tired of trying to stitch together a relationship from scraps of effort. There comes a moment when you realize you're holding on to potential, not reality. And that moment hurts. It hits you in a quiet way, almost like grief. You start feeling a distance between what you deserve and what you're accepting. You feel yourself shrinking, bending, adjusting, hoping he'll meet you halfway. But deep down, you know consistency should never feel like something you're begging for. Withdrawing your emotional investment isn't about punishing him. It's about protecting you. It's stepping back from the parts of him that keep breaking you. It's choosing not to pour love into someone who treats your feelings like they're optional. It's understanding that every time you forgive the same inconsistency, you're teaching him that he doesn't have to change because you will. When you withdraw emotionally, you start to detach from the fantasy of what he could be and finally see who he actually is. You stop romanticizing the little moments and start recognizing the bigger patterns. You stop giving him the benefit of the doubt when the doubt has turned into truth. You stop clinging to the connection and start reclaiming your sense of self. And the shift is quiet. It's subtle. It's internal before it's external. You don't announce it. You don't need to. He'll feel it. He'll feel the difference in your tone. He'll feel the absence of your emotional availability. He'll feel the weight of losing access to the parts of you he once relied on, not because you became cold, but because you became conscious. Your peace becomes more important than keeping him comfortable. Your sanity becomes more important than keeping the relationship alive. Your heart becomes more important than keeping the cycle going. And the moment your heart stops chasing inconsistency, you begin to heal in ways you didn't realize you needed. There comes a point where waiting starts to feel like slowly drowning. You keep telling yourself, maybe tomorrow he'll show up different. Maybe next week he'll finally choose this the way I choose it. But days turn into weeks, and weeks turn into months, and you realize you've built your life around the hope that someone will one day become the version of themselves they keep promising. Waiting becomes a habit. And sometimes we confuse the habit with love. Choosing yourself is the moment you realize you can't live on potential anymore. You can't keep putting your needs on a shelf while you wait for someone else to realize your worth. You can't keep pressing pause on your happiness, hoping he'll finally press play. It's the moment you understand that your heart wasn't made to be a holding place for someone who can't make up his mind. It hurts, because choosing yourself often means walking away from something you wanted deeply. It means accepting that effort can't be forced. It means understanding that love isn't enough when it's only coming from one direction. And that's the part nobody talks about, the grief that comes with choosing yourself. The quiet tears, the silent prayers, the nights you lie awake wondering if you're making a mistake. But deep down, something in you knows that staying would cost more than leaving. Choosing yourself doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you finally started caring about you. It means you're tired of excuses, tired of being told to be patient, tired of shrinking just to fit into the small space he's willing to offer. It means you're done waiting for someone to see the value that's been in front of them the whole time. There's a strength in that choice, a trembling, tender kind of strength, not loud, not arrogant, just steady. It's the strength that comes from being honest with yourself, from admitting that you deserve a love that doesn't hesitate. You deserve effort that's consistent, not conditional. You deserve someone who shows up, not someone you have to drag to the table. When you choose yourself, your world shifts. Your breathing gets easier. Your thoughts get clearer. You start remembering who you were before you started waiting. You find pieces of yourself you didn't even realize you'd misplaced. Your joy, your spark, your self-respect, your dreams. It's like waking up after being emotionally asleep for too long. And something beautiful happens when you choose yourself. The desperation leaves your body. The anxiety fades. The need for validation dissolves. You stop needing someone else to pick you. You pick you. And that choice changes everything, not because he lost you, but because you finally found yourself again. You start moving forward, not running, not fleeing, just walking with purpose, walking with clarity, walking with courage, walking with the quiet understanding that love should lift you, not leave you stuck in place. Elevation after hurt has a different kind of power. It's the moment you realize that the pain didn't break you, it pushed you. It pushed you into a version of yourself you might have never met if everything had gone the way you hoped. Growing past the situation confuses him, not because you're trying to, but because he expected you to stay in the place where he left you emotionally. He expected you to still be wounded, still be waiting, still be caught in the same cycle. But instead you rose, quietly, steadily, intentionally. There's something unforgettable about a woman who heals. Not the kind who pretends she's okay. Not the kind who patches herself up just enough to keep going, but the kind who really does the work. The kind who sits with her pain long enough to understand it. The kind who learns from what hurt her instead of letting it define her. That kind of healing changes your presence. It changes your voice, your choices, your energy. It changes the room when you walk into it. And that growth doesn't happen overnight. It starts in the small spaces those mornings when you choose peace instead of replaying the hurt, those nights when you decide not to text him because, it'll reopen wounds you're trying to close. Growth shows up in the way you speak to yourself, in the way you stop asking, why wasn't I enough? And start asking, why did I accept so little? Healing shows up in the way you stop needing answers from him because you've already given yourself the truth. What confuses him isn't the fact that you moved on. It's the way you did it. With grace instead of chaos, with confidence instead of bitterness, with a glow he can't take credit for. It's when he realizes you didn't lose yourself in the pain. You found yourself through it. That's the kind of elevation nobody can fake. And the thing about rising is that it shifts the dynamic. The same person who once felt comfortable taking you for granted now feels the weight of your absence. The same man who once felt certain you'd always be available now has to face the reality that you outgrew the version of him that hurt you. Your growth becomes the mirror he wasn't ready to look into. Your peace becomes the proof of what you should have had all along. Elevation looks like opportunities you would have missed if you stayed stuck. It looks like friendships that lift you higher. It looks like rediscovering the parts of you that got quiet in the relationship. It looks like dreams you finally have the space to chase. It looks like smiling again without forcing it. It looks like learning that love shouldn't cost your identity. And somewhere along the way, the confusion shifts. It's no longer about confusing him. It's about how surprised you are by your own strength. It's about how different life feels when you stop shrinking yourself to fit into someone else's comfort zone. It's about standing in a version of yourself that feels whole, steady, and finally aligned with what you deserve. Your elevation becomes the closure you never got. Your growth becomes the answer to every question the pain created. Your healing becomes the proof that what broke you didn't win.